so I will show you how to update your research object from the Jupyter Notebook and add all the administrative information for your master thesis. I have already copied the identifier of my research object. You can check the previous video for this, and I added it here. So I will share this notebook and you can use it as a template for updating your research object. So the first thing you need, again, make sure you have installed Rawhub in your local environment. And then you, of course, need to import Rawhub for authenticating to Rawhub portal. So here, this is authentication. I already showed it in the previous video. And I use the identifier to load the research object into my Jupyter Notebook. So this is what I do here when I load the identifier research object here. And I can even show the metadata to make sure I have loaded the right one. So make sure you update here with your identifier, and you can check this is the right title, right description, etc. Then I will update the research object and I want to add the publisher. So the publisher in our case will be the University of Oslo, and each organization has a unique identifier. And this is done from this ROHub.org, and I can paste it here to show you what it looks like. Each organization has a unique identifier. If I search for the University of Oslo, I will get, yeah. And this is the identifier we want to use in Rawhub, this one. And actually here what I do, I check that it is already registered, so I can execute this cell here. And I will search for Oslo, and so far we don't have many of them. And I will select the one where we have this row and this very strange identifier, which is a unique identifier. And I copy it here, which is the University of Oslo organization. And then I can add it as a publisher. So this step here is adding as a publisher the University of Oslo. Then I can add the copyright holder, and this is you in your case as a master student. So here you have to search for your name. So I'm looking for my name, and you see you can appear sometimes you appear several times. Make sure you select the address, so your username with the correct email address, the one you have used for registering to Rawhub, and you can again select it here, and you can set the copyright holder with this line, and I'm setting myself as a copyright holder. Then you can add your supervisor, and not all the supervisors will be already available in the Rawhub portal. So first thing we try to find if he or she is already in Rawhub. So for instance, here I'm looking for Trude, and she's a professor at Metos. I can find she's registered, and I can use her username to add her. So I can say that the supervisor 1, if I have several supervisors, is her. And I can try to find another supervisor. And I can see, for instance, if I'm looking for Benjamin, this is another person working at Simula, is not in the system yet. So I can create it. And this is what I'm showing here. When you want to create a supervisor that is not yet in Rawhub, you have to find his full name, first name and last name, the email address, and a short description of the affiliation. So then it is a dictionary here that you create with a display name and the name, the email and the email address, and the affiliation with the text of the affiliation. Then you create this small dictionary, And you can set the contributors, which now we will have 2 contributors. It will be the 2 supervisors I have for this master thesis, for instance. And it will be created, the second one. And finally, now I need to add a license. And we are creating what we call executable research object, because we will add also the scripts and the Jupyter notebook or any things you have executed during your master thesis. So we will choose a MIT license. If you want to select a different license and want to see what kind of license you can choose, you can use this choosealicense.com and try to browse a different selection here and select a different one. You can also set here with this ROHub.list available licenses, you can see all the different available licenses in Rawhub. So you have many, this is a very long list. And what we will use is simply the MIT license, which is a very open license. And I add it to my research object. And finally, the last step is to add the geographical area, so that what we call a geometry. And for this, we need to create what we call a GeoJSON file covering the geographical area. So I will go to this geojson.io, and I already opened it here, and I will try to select an area which is covering the area of study of my master thesis. It doesn't have to be super precise, but this is to give an idea for someone looking at your research object. So let's say, for instance, I'm working on Svalbard. I want to select a geographical area, so I can use one of these tools. So if you have only one single location, you can take this one. This is a square, and this one is a shape which is a bit more complex. So I can left click with my mouse and I can select an area, and then I need to finish where I started. And you will see on the right hand side, it shows the GeoJSON. Then I can save it here. It says it requires authentication. Okay, it doesn't matter. We'll let's say you are not logged in. I will Control A here to copy, and I will go back to my Jupyter notebook, and I will create a new file. So I will go to my launcher, and I will open a text file like this one here. I will make sure I save the file in, so I will paste it, Control V, and I will make sure I save this file. So I will rename it, rename text, and instead of calling it .text, I will call it map.geojson and rename map, and rename it. And I need to make sure this file is in the exact folder of this notebook. So you may have to move it. So for instance, here I can clearly see this is not in the right folder. Yeah, it is in the map.geojson. Okay, that's right. So make sure you have it here and the Jupyter notebook. And now finally I can add the geolocation. So for this you need to pass the file name to this add geolocation. So now let's check my research object here. I need to refresh. And I should have like the contributed, which will be your supervisor, the publisher, which is the University of Oslo. And I should see this location. So if I expand it here and I click on the area and I zoom out, I will see the exact area I have passed before. And that's it for this part.